Heavy is the head that wears the crown, and when leadership on all sides is tested by the conflict, only the real kings and queens will rise to the occasion. All this and more in the pages of Empyre, issue number 4. I'm Cape Joel, so let's hop on in, shall we? So then, as we rejoin this summer event, Carol the Accuser and the Super Skrull continue to debate their next course of action. Should the Vibranium Mountain Wakanda fall, then the Kotati could very well win a decisive victory over the entire universe. At that point, the only card the good guys would have left to play is the Empyre, an astro nuke that would destroy Earth's sun and the entirety of the Kotati forces, along with, well, pretty much everything else that needed Earth's sun to live, including us.
Since the beginning of time, man has yearned to destroy the sun.
Carol and the Human Torch assumed that good-hearted Emperor Hulkling would never do such a horrible thing to his adopted home, but after his royal nap, his tune begins to change. Now he wants to kill them all and let space gods sort him out. In a nice bit of characters acting competently, Captain Marvel rightly scans Teddy to make sure he's not a Skrull. Well, I mean, he was always half Skrull, making sure he's not a full bad Skrull. Of course, Carol was gifted that hammer and scanner at the end of the previous issue by the woman who we discovered was actually the Skrull Empress, and it's probably safe to assume Teddy got swapped for the Empress when no one was looking. A massive fight ensues, and I must admit Kl'rt the Super Skrull actually gets a pretty good line in about the heroes not wanting to destroy their own home planet if it means saving the universe, while the Fantastic Four failed to save Kl'rt's own planet from Galactus all those years ago.
Yeah, that makes sense.
The good guys get magicked out of there by the Kree court wizard in a spell that was always meant to evacuate the Emperor should things get too hot, so it's no surprise that Torch and Carol end up in Wiccan's apartment. This poor guy barely has any idea what's been going on with Teddy, and the truth is about to hurt him real bad in just a minute. Tony Stark similarly remains in a bad place this issue, and when Tony feels bad, there's only a couple things he does. Drink, which is out of the question on this one, or make armors, and oh look, he made a new fancy one with a 4 on it. The heroes on Earth harbor no illusion that even if they do manage to save the Vibranium Mountain, the Kree and the Skrulls will probably just blow them up anyway to settle old scores. The actual battle in Wakanda itself is more of a smokescreen, though, to offer Sue Richards and Mantis one last chance to seek an audience with Sequoia, the idea being that maybe Mantis can use some of that mother's love kung fu to offset all that father's hate that's been put inside his head by swordsmen. So yeah, are you winning, son? Mantis says, because you know you're not going to make the world a better place just by bringing more death and misery into it. In fact, the Kree and Skrull hated each other for millennia, but put their differences aside long enough to build the greatest empire the universe has ever seen. Naturally, Sequoia is not listening to any of this, saying that just because they have a common foe now doesn't mean they won't go back to killing each other once he's defeated. The real twist, though, comes when She-Hulk actually starts advocating on the side of the Kotati. Now, I'm not going to say I called this one, but I totally called it because Jen turns out to be a sleeper agent.
It's me, Austin! Oh, son of a bitch!
But she's not a sleeper agent in the way you might think. In fact, it all ends up being really fascinating. You'll recall that the Kotati have the power to resurrect the dead as new green-skinned servants. It worked for swordsmen, and because Jen was already green, they couldn't see it until it was too late. This also ends up begging a much bigger and much more interesting question, and that is, was Jen actually dead this whole time? If she was, it would track a lot with what Al Ewing is doing over in the Immortal Hulk book right now, and because that's going to be getting a tie-in soon, I feel like we're actually going to get an answer. As the comic winds down, Wiccan finally gets up to speed on everything Teddy has been doing and confirms that that man up there cannot be the same man he loved and married, and that one way or another they're going to get the real Hulkling back. And so that was Empyre issue number 4, and I gotta say, I think this might actually end up being my favorite issue of the series so far. The theme of leadership is really on center stage in this one, from Hulkling leading a divided empire to Black Panther leading people in the field to Tony basically being lost in a drift as he has no Avengers around him to lead. Also, even though I called the She-Hulk reveal early on, I was so damn excited to see that shoe drop when it did and in the form it did. In fact, I'm super excited for the tie-in, which should really tell you something about this issue and Empyre as a whole. Overall, I would give this one a very enthusiastic 8.5 out of 10.